has got charge of the game with St. George to kick off. Balmain to receive the ball with very little breeze, and it's Graham O'Grady, the lock forward, putting the ball deep. Humphreys gets it away, and so Balmain running it up through their winger Mark Lawson. Tackler was Chris Guider. David Brooks to dummy half. Now Balmain don't like to play it in their own territory early in the game. You'll no doubt see them kick shortly. This is Kerry Hemsley. A lot of people thought Hemsley might get a look in the representative spot this year, but he's been beaten to it by his clubmate Steve Roach. This is Gary Bridge. As anticipated, kicking to Johnson. Getting around Davidson beautifully. Johnson setting St. George alight. Just over halfway. Second rower Fraser. These teams met 3 times last year, and in the early round results you saw that St. George were big winners both times, and then they met in the semi-final later in the season, only to see St. George win that 17-14. Chris Walsh dropped the ball though. He's a very hard player to contain, Chris Walsh, when he starts running, but just dropped the ball then to force the first scrum of the match. Interesting to see how Whittaker goes today with a new prop forward there, but he's done pretty well so far this season. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him take a couple of tight heads off Chris Guider. He's won that first scrum. Now Bill Kane, the replacement lock, is dummy half. Caught by Walsh. Whittaker, Brooks. That was a good hit by Robert Stone, number 13. And a penalty, that one's against Walsh, grabbing Brooks by the jersey, not letting him get to his feet. And one thing we must say for the referees this season, Gary, they've been very, very consistent in that particular ruling about getting off the tackle player quickly.
They certainly have, and it surprises me that players still will persist with this. They particularly early in the game, that's when the referee wants to establish control, and the players are still transgressing in that area.
Well, Balmain have taken it into St. George's territory with a kick for touch, and Whittaker took his eyes off the ball, and have you ever seen a player distressed with an action? Well, that's given the feed to St. George. Chris Guider tried to win this scrum for his side to send them on the attack. That mistake by Whittaker gives the feed to St. George, and they get the penalty with the Balmain scrum moving the scrum off the mark. Well, that's not the sort of error that Stanton will like. Frank Stanton, the Balmain coach, will want his side to concede early on in the game. Kick for touch being taken by Michael Beattie.
Big advantage lost there with Balmain only a moment ago, having a penalty going deep into St. George's half. Now they find the play in their own territory with St. George 6 tackles to go.
Just in Balmain's territory now. Walsh making the break. I know we nominated Walshy as our player of the match a couple of weeks ago, and a few people thought our judgment was astray, but got a big opinion of that fellow. This is Beattie playing it. Rick Powell. He's got big boots to fill today in the shape of the Australians. Prop forward Craig Young. Guider likes to run from dummy half. Quite often he's small enough to duck under those higher tackles. Haddock, Morris, Stone. Caught by Marquito. Johnson. It's Morris. Paul Morris, former Newtown 5'8", putting it up to Humphreys, and he's taken it well. Nice tackle too. Brian Johnston coming through from the centres. This is David French. Right in front of his own post. Hemsley ready to run it out. Here he is. Still got the ball away. Whittaker breaking up the middle over the quarter. Caught from behind by Johnston. Greg Lane. Marquito. Nice tackle. That was Powell. O'Grady holding him down. Bridge. Judging his kick. He took his time about that, aiming for the touchline, and that time has not paid off. Yes, it has. It's found touch. 25 metres out from the Saints goal line. Scrum win to the Saints. Perry Haddock joined the club this year from Cronulla Sutherland. Paul Morris. It's Colin Fraser. Nice driving tackle from David Brooks. Guider. Powell. Guider. Rick Powell to dummy half. Haddock. Morris. Looking for the line. Driving it once, twice, and doesn't find touch. Humphreys. Caught by Morris. Got the pass. Lawson is caught by Fraser. That's Hemsley now. Popping it up to Greg Lane. Whitaker, Brooks, and taken by the smallest man on the field, Chris Guider, wrapping him up. Whitaker, Hemsley. French is just on halfway. To Whitaker, Lane, Bridge. Kicking downfield, Simon Booth is following it through. Nobody back there for the Saints. It might go dead. In fact, it's stopping in goal. And Johnson knocking on in goal. Goal line dropout. Well, I'm sure that Brian Johnson thought that ball was going to go dead. It seemed to have sufficient momentum to go over the dead ball line, but it just came back, and Johnson, taking his eyes off the ball as he tried to pick it up, knocked it on. Frank Stanton a little bit happier with the fact that the Balmain have been able to force play down to the Saints territory. Long drop out. French. A lot of the players not contesting today's game because of the state duty Tuesday night. Steve Roach, the Balmain prop. The Bridge. Schofield the decoy, and Whitaker running it back to give it out. David Brooks to his winger, French. He's dropped it. Saints will get it. Colin Fraser. Johnson, the fullback. Nice tackle from Schofield. I'm surprised that St. George have enabled themselves to be trapped in their own half for so long. It's not often that you see them trying to struggle their way out of their own territory. There was a good bumping run by Robert Stone, leading by example. But don't be surprised if they kick shortly. Here's Haddock. Long one. Is it too long? No. Humphreys back again. Well, Haddock's gained a lot of ground with his two kicks, but he hasn't been able to find touch. Hemsley now. Referee calling on the St. George defence to let him play it. And they'll get a penalty, Balmain, with Saints being up inside the 5. Well, every time St. George look like they're going to get out of their own territory, they concede a penalty, and that just gives the advantage back to Balmain. And they're going to have a long-range shot for goal. David Brooks going to be kicking from the best part of 48, 49 metres. And that's the distance that he's got. If anything, the breeze is coming in off Botany Bay, and it's coming virtually across the ground. It's not really assisting either side to any great extent. And I suppose if you had to make any judgment about the breeze, you'd have to say it's going to be against this kick just ever so slightly. David Brooks, who joined the Balmain club 2 seasons ago, coming down with the countryside, and he's proved his worth to the club. He's a very valuable member of the forward pack. So Chris Walsh being found offside, and the long-range shot for goal by Brooks is high in the air, and it looks a good kick. It's there. It's a great kick. just fell over the bar. A fabulous kick to Brooks, giving Balmain the early lead in the game. Booth. Both sides have been able to move the ball around early in this game. They haven't been too worried. And in fact, the referee Annesley is making sure they're getting back that full 5 metres in defence. That's allowing both sides the room to throw it about. David Brooks. Tackler was Walsh. That's down to the St. George quarter line. Lane, Bridge. Davidson was a long way back. That's Booth. Crunched there by Johnston. Davidson. Bridge. It's a high kick. Brian Johnson letting it bounce. Bad mistake, and Balmain couldn't pick it up. Davidson got a hand to it. Well, the old story, never let the ball bounce, because it nearly resulted in a Balmain try there. And Gary Bridge, although under pressure, again took his time with the kick, high in the air, and both the St. George players leaving it to each other. As a result, it bounced between them and away from them, and very nearly let Balmain in for a try. From the ensuing scrum, a penalty's gone to Balmain, and they play on with the tap kick, and it'll be another penalty, and that can be a shot for goal. Well, Greg Lane showing a lot of nous there. Realised the St. George defence were not back the 5 metres. He just tapped it and ran straight into them and got the other penalty. Well, the first penalty, of course, was a differential penalty where there's absolutely no chance of having a kick for goal, but Lane quickly takes that tap. There's Guider going straight in. Obviously, he's only back about 2 metres and well offside, and he's been penalised by Graham Annesley. This one's about 20 metres out, and it's a lot easier. And for some unknown reason, he tends to miss these. Will he remain true to form today? The Balmain supporters hope not. It's amazing, isn't it, how some kickers can put them over from wide out, but not from here. Brooks 20 metres out. High in the air. He's got that one, though. That's another good kick. David Brooks has brought the right kicking boots with him today. 4 points to 0 the score. For the third time in the match, Graham O'Grady kicks off. Lawson. Back to Humphreys. Hemsley. Bill Kane, the lock forward, 20 metres from halfway. To Whittaker. Bridge. Another kick. And a little bit too long that time. Talked about that breeze earlier. It's coming in from the far side of the field towards us. St. George ball to Paul Morris, stepping away from Bridge. That was a neat little step to get inside his opposite 5'8". Now St. George really haven't had a chance to attack. Here it is, their first opportunity, and Rick Powell's only 15 metres out. Guider, Paddock, Stone, Beatty, Brian Johnson, the fullback, brings the St. George crowd to its feet when he chimes in. Steve Morris, Stone, a penalty right in front. Greg Lane, Schofield and Bridge, all offside in defence right in front of the posts. Balmain supporter to wish he'd missed this one. Steve Gearin has been very successful this year. And that's another 2 points to his tally to bring the scores a little bit closer now. And after 19 minutes of the game, we've had only the 3 scoring shots, with the 3 penalty goals all being landed by the respective kickers. Now Gary Bridge restarts for the Tigers. And a bad mistake by Gearin. Oh, my word, you can't do that from a kick-off.
It's putting enormous pressure back on. Just what Gearan go in here. Tries to take it on the half volley, and really that's now going to put St. George under great pressure. Balmain with the loose head and the feed right there, 6 metres out from the St. George line.
So Balmain with a great chance. Kane getting it away. Davidson's over. He's dropped the ball, though. Dropped the ball over the line. Balmain had scored, only to see Davidson drop the ball over the line. He was hurt in the tackle. This is what happened with that good move work from the scrum base. Lock forward Billy Kane gets the ball away to Davidson, who really was on the fly. And Davidson flying over the line, but hit in that high tackle. And as he hits the deck, the ball comes loose. A good tackle from Powell to put him down. Well, that had hurt anyone. Davidson over the line, but he probably didn't even know that he was so close with that tackle by Ricky Powell.
Powell's rather lucky not to have been called out for that. Perhaps the fact that the referee was looking so intently to see if that ball was grounded has ensured that he may have missed that very high tackle from Powell.
Yeah, let me say one thing, Gary. I said it was a good tackle. I repeat that in one respect, in that that move came from a scrum, and it took a prop forward to get out of the front row of the scrum to actually get the ball carrier so close to the line. From that respect, it was good that Powell was able to get there. I won't say it was a good tackle and that he hit him so high, but so close to the line, I don't think he had any time to think about that. So here's the move, Davidson going for line, and this is the prop forward breaking from the scrum, just flying across field and getting him high around the neck. Just above the shoulder, actually. And I think Davidson's okay. That's good to see too. Powell has been sent off. Powell is off.
Yes, there's certainly been no indication of a stint in the sin bin. There's a penalty to Balmain. Powell has been waved to the sideline without any indication.
So the penalty has gone to Balmain, and you can't really blame referee Annesley, Gary, I wouldn't think, for sending him off.
No, I certainly take back my criticism. I said a moment ago that he may not have seen that, and Powell could have got away with it.
So David Brooks from practically straight in front, and he should be able to give Balmain that clear 4-point margin again. Brooks from right in front, another 2 points. 6 points to 2 the score. St. George really doing it tough now with being forced to play the remainder of the game with only 12 men. Rick Powell sent off for that high tackle on Davidson. Brooks. It's Marquito. Bridge. Aiming it across field. Brian Johnson. Steve Gearan. I wonder how Steve Gearan's feeling now, because if you recall, it was from that last kick-off that he knocked on close to his own goal line, and from the ensuing scrum, St. George have had a man sent off. Johnston, Beattie. Good to see Davidson recovering. Morris, the 5'8", down the blind side. Now to 1 to go for the Saints. Been hurt in the tackle. Paul Morris had made that good ground up the touchline. And here he is, taking the defence by surprise, and he was caught by 2 of the defenders. A lot of players have when they suffer a dislocation of a finger, will strap that finger to another to keep it firm. Some coaches, in fact, won't allow their players to take the field if they've got bandages on the hands. They believe that the freedom of the hands is restricted, then they can't handle the ball properly. Steve Morris. Haddock. Guider. St. George relying a little bit too much on these small men. Morris, Guider and Haddock. Poor David French doing so well to get back into position. Got a hand to it and couldn't control it. And that'll put a scrum down 5 metres from the Balmain line. French just getting back in time, and it came loose. And despite that despairing dive, it beat him out over the touchline. Scrum feed goes to St. George, but they won't need it with a penalty. And Neil Whittaker, the Balmain skipper, being told about the decision, and it is for not standing square on to the opponent goal line. Stone for touch. And how often do we see a side have a player sent off, be confronted with a long period playing with a man short, and then lift their game? Can St. George do it today? Well, Paul Morris certainly can. Johnston. That's Beatty. Come loose. Humphreys playing it. Balmain to run it out. Schofield. Whittaker. Kane, this is. It's Marquito. Bridge. And again, running it to the touchline, but Brian Johnson is back. Running away from Steve Gear in his support. And the St. George forwards very slow to get back on side now. They'll probably just run it up a couple of times to settle it down. Walsh, but that's a good penalty too. Even though Walsh had run that to the blind side, out on the open side, the entire Balmain defensive backline was standing right up offside. Graham O'Grady just handing the ball across for Beatty to kick. Kicking against this light easterly breeze. And that's a very good kick nevertheless. Nice kick indeed by Beatty. Stone. To the blind side is O'Grady, feeding it quickly. Second row, Walsh inside. That's O'Grady is over. A beautifully executed try. Colin Fraser was in there. I think I called him Walsh, but it was Fraser involved in the movement on the blind side. And here it is. St. George must be saying, isn't it great to practice a move so often at training, only to see it come off. And there was the switch in play to the blind side to O'Grady. He's got second rower Colin Fraser inside. And Fraser taking the ball, realised that he had support inside. Caught by the cover coming across. Brian Johnson, the fullback, confronted by Humphreys. When he was just inside Humphreys' tackle, he saw O'Grady yelling for the ball inside. And there's the lock forward just going across. And a great try to the Saints. Well, that brings St. George back into the game. It's 6-all, and the conversion attempt to come from wide out. It was obvious even from that tap kick when Robert Stone started the movement that St. George knew exactly what on. And as soon as Stone tapped it, they were all into position beautifully for that try that O'Grady eventually scored himself. Now Steve Gearin can put St. George in front here if he lands this, which he does not do. Skimming the upright. Now, Stone taps it, runs it to the open. O'Grady down the blind side makes the initial bust. Here's Fraser calling for it. Fraser takes the ball. He gets caught by the covering tackle of Davidson. Johnson is inside, and as Johnson is eventually caught, O'Grady's alongside him just to take the ball and go over under the tackle of Brooks. Morris, half a break made before that good tackle. Guider runs like a 5'8", doesn't he? Haddock, Walsh, gone up to the front row. Good tackle from Brooks. Players still inside St. George's half. Haddock, Morris, Johnston, Johnson. Oh, and a silly pass from Johnson. He had no chance of getting it around behind the defence. Touch judges come in though. There'll be a report. St. George had done ever so well. One thing I like about them, they're standing their back line deep. And they're trying to get away from the effects of this Balmain covering defence.
Yes, you'll see that it's John Davidson having hold of Brian Johnson before he could get that ball. You'll see Johnson lose the ball here. The advantage has been played, the touch judges come in, and the penalty's been given to St. George.
And not only that, Davison has got some time in the sin bin. John Davidson off to the sin bin. 10 minutes for what can only be described as a professional foul. In other words, breaking the rules once too often. So at least for 10 minutes now, St. George realise that everything is square. Not only is it 6-all on the board, both teams are playing with 12 men. And if ever the Saints need the chance to go in, it's here. Only about 3 minutes before the break. Stone just throwing the ball away. Wasn't really Stone's fault. He didn't have the support from his teammates. If a big prop forward stands in the tackle and still can unload, the coach will say, well done. But the fault there had to go to the Saints teammates because they weren't backing Stone up when he was looking for support. Kane. Caught by Fraser. Whittaker. Brooks. Another good tackle from Fraser, assisted by O'Grady. That's tackle number 5 against the Tigers. Whittaker. Bridge. Hemsley in the way, and that is a penalty for obstruction. No doubt about it.
Well, I think that was one of these
on, but Kerry Hemsley was in the wrong spot.
Exactly, and I don't think there was any doubt about this one at all. Just watch Gary Bridge get the ball. See Kerry Hemsley just in front of him. Obviously no understanding between them at all. Hemsley going into Robert Stone and deliberately stopping the attempted tackle.
The question now is, can St. George go in at half-time with a lead? Siren has gone. The kick is on its way from Steve Gearin, and it is straight between the posts. And the St. George Dragons, before their home crowd, go in with a lead of 8 points to 6.
Only 8 decided scrums in that first half. Balmain leading them 5-3 and no tied heads, while the penalties favoured St. George 8-5. The errors were very even. St. George 26-23, but 15 handling errors to St. George in there, something they'll have to cut out in the second half.
Gary Bridge gets the game underway with Balmain to play the first 7 minutes of the second half, still without their centre John Davidson, and repeating earlier that Rick Powell, the St. George prop, was sent off for a head-high tackle. Now here's the St. George winger Steve Morris trying to make a break. He'd run straight across field from the right wing to the left wing from the kickoff, and this is Brian Johnston. Balmain defending grimly now to try and keep St. George now down near their own line, and they're putting St. George under that pressure all the time of always being in the position of having to run away from their own line. This is fullback Humphreys. Let's have a look at those tackles in the first half, and you'll notice that in the St. George side, the prop forward, Chris Walsh, who's playing a prop now with the sending off of Powell, is head of the tackle count, given good support by Colin Fraser and Robert Stone. This is Simon Booth playing it. Bridge. Kane, the lock forward. Mike Marquito. Lane. Bridge. Second rower Brooks. Back to Whittaker. Bridge. Hemsley. Humphreys getting it beautifully one-handed and dumped to the ground for his trouble by Stone. 1 to go, 25 metres out. Gary Bridge trying the bomb with Brian Johnson running it into the in-goal area and just knocking it dead. Once again, the ball was bouncing the wrong way, and had he not got a hand to it, I would have bet on a Balmain try there. Gary Bridge had kicked the ball away from Johnson, and Johnson not able to gauge it correctly because he wasn't underneath it. And as he was running across, he wasn't able to take it on the full. But you'll notice that I think it was in Johnson's mind that the ball would go dead, but when it bounced back infield away from him. And it was only that despairing hand in the air by Johnson eventually that kept the ball out over the dead ball line. And what a good kick. Scrum to go down on halfway.
Again, that shows the value of taking the ball on the full. There's been 3 or 4 occasions today where a player hasn't caught the ball on the full and has played all sorts of tricks to the detriment of his side.
Bridge, Lane. While we had a look at the St. George tackles, let's have a look at those of Balmain in the first half and Mike Marquito, prop forward. Haven't seen much of him in the open. That's because he's been doing a lot of the tight defence in close. That's him playing the ball to the blind side to Hemsley. Humphreys getting it quickly. Schofield onto his winger and French is caught. Lane, Bridge, Kane. Gary Bridge stepping in field. Still going. Chance for Balmain. Backing up by Whittaker. Still getting it to Kane. Unloading it. Humphreys, the fullback, is there. Ball's come loose. Might well be a penalty against Stone here. Throwing that arm into the tackle. And a penalty right in front. Here it is.
Well, certainly Stone was very late coming into this. You can see how the players held. There's it, the right from Stone as he comes in very late, and the referee right on the spot has picked him up.
Brooks from straight in front, trying to level the scores. No trouble doing so. And that's after 4 minutes of the second half. Brooks has now landed 4 out of 4 to level the scores. Marquito, nice hit by Stone, but he reeled away from it. Whittaker, Bridge, Simon Booth chasing the kick through, and he's onside. Booth. Morris gets to the ball in front of Johnson. Confronted by Booth, a lovely time pass. Johnson in field. Fullback starting to put St. George on the way, and he's 10 metres inside his own half. Back to Guider. Johnston. Guider, Paddock, Morris, second rower Fraser. Tackler was Brooks. This is Paul Morris. Caught from behind by Brooks. He thought he was inside the tackler standing in front. Haddock, Stone, O'Grady, overhead pass, Johnson, beautifully handled. Plenty of pace, this fellow. He's got Johnston inside. Floats it up, there's Steve Morris, he's got even more pace. He'll score for sure. A super try from the Dragons. Now as the ball goes across field, O'Grady gets his pass out, and Brian Johnson takes it deep down inside the territory, flicked that pass up, and Steve Morris was there to run it away. And Steve Morris was always going to score once he got the ball. and Morris goes across to score. Back live, it's converted by Gearon, and so early in the second half, St. George go to a lead of 14 points to 8. Let's have a look at that try again. And from head on, or from side on, it's Robert Stone this time. O'Grady flipping it over the top. Johnson did so well one-handed. And then when he realised he'd run out of room inside, he got it up, and Morris backing up showed that brilliant acceleration of his over a short distance, and he streaked across under the posts. Johnson. Haddock. Walsh. Well, this is the telling part of the game now. I think whichever side scores from now is going to win this game. You can sense the pressure on both teams as they realise they've got to score. St. George score. They'll go away from Balmain. If Balmain score, I think they can win it. O'Grady. O'Grady weaving through. O'Grady! O'Grady! What a superb run. It's a handover, the sixth tackle. Well, Graham O'Grady has not had the best of luck since he transferred to St. George. He's been up and down from reserve grade to first. And he hasn't been able to consolidate a place, but since he's been recalled this time, he's not let his coach Roy Masters down. Michael Marquite. Look at the way the St. George side is tackling. There are 4 players there. Walsh, Stone, Brooks. Now, how will that kick fare? It's too long. Much too long. That'll be a scrum inside St. George's territory. They've got the feed and the loose head.
Balmain leading those scrums, but one tight head to St. George hooker Chris Skyder.
Well, it could be a penalty here if they're not careful. That scrum moving right around. And there it is to the Saints. Balmain side advancing the mark. The defending pack moving off the mark. So that being a differential scrum penalty, there can't be a kick at goal. Stone realised there was no point kicking for touch. That's Beattie. Beattie to Johnson. He's left it behind. And it's a knock on the Balmain and a scrum to go down. Ever so close. First O'Grady and then Beattie and Johnson. St. George had gone in there. I think it would have sealed the result of this game, but they get another penalty. Balmain have got to do something about this. Huge sequence of penalties against them in this second half, and all they're doing is ruining their own prospects. The instructions gone out from the Balmain trainer, and they've just got to cool it a little bit.
3 successive scrum penalties, and that really is the area where Balmain will have to look at it. It's enabling St. George to keep the pressure on them almost constantly.
Well, another tap kick from the differential. One tackle gone. Stone playing it. Guy to dummy half. Haddock. Paul Morris. Well, even 5 tackles is worthwhile. A drop goal attempt. Michael Beattie hasn't missed this. Yes, he has missed this time. I just doubt the wisdom of that at that stage. They still had another 3 tackles to go, and I think they may have been able to run it a little bit straighter to the posts. Here it is. And Beattie just to the right of the post. He got it off the ground very cleanly, but it wasn't there, was it? Well, Chris Walsh now has been penalised in the tackle. Balmain get a penalty, 22 metres inside their own half. We haven't seen Balmain in the St. George half for quite some time. In fact, going backwards. Ball coming right off the side of the boot from Gary Bridge, and he's lost about 3 metres. If Balmain lose this game, Frank Stanton will just not believe it. Having had a St. George player sent off very early in the match and then still not being able to win this game. They've still got time from now, though. There's still about 17 or 18 minutes to go. Kane, Lane, Bridge, Booth. Tackler is Brian Johnston. Schofield. Lane, Hemsley. Oh, nice solid hit there by Robert Stone. Jarred Billy Kane to the ground. And this kick by Bridge is taken by Johnson on his own quarter line. Running away. Bridge has got him, tackled. Beattie. Olsen Filipina getting ready, the former Kiwi international. He'll come on as a replacement for whom we don't as yet know. Chris Guider. Morris. Haddock. Haddock weaving his way through. Morris up in support. There he goes. The lightning flashes away again, and he's caught inside. Steve Morris plays it. Haddock. Guider. Stone. Grady. Beautiful pass, putting his man into the gap. Fraser's pass is forward by a long way. Well, St. George have got their momentum.
There's no doubt about it, but it was a desperation pass by Fraser, and it must have gone 3 to 4 metres, maybe even 5 metres ahead.
It wasn't a well taken by Brian Johnston. That was a good shot of how a hooker has to contort his body in order to win the ball. All they've succeeded in do, though, is concede a penalty. That's Chris Guider, who's flat on his back, being penalised for collapsing in the scrum. Now, 3 replacements at once for Balmain. We've got Olsen Filipina, Kevin Hardwick, and Mark Bevan by the looks of things. Frank Stanton making his final assault at one time. That's not bad thinking by Stanton. Brooks has lost it. Haddock's got it. Now let's just think about this. We've got 16 minutes to go. St. George are going to finish the game having played most of it down to 12 men. Here's Johnson, the fullback, streaking downfield, looking for his winger. Beautiful sidestep. Johnson is caught and in a touch. Great run by the fullback. And a lovely little step to get away from the covering tackle. He, in fact, confused the 2 defenders, but Stephen Humphreys was equal to the task to run him into touch, and that was good play by the Balmain fullback. Now, let's have a look at this Balmain side. We've got John Davidson being replaced, along with Bill Kane. St. George, another tight head there. Paul Morris. Stone. Wouldn't he love to score a try to seal this match? It's not very often he gets the opportunity of captaining the Saints, but he's done nothing wrong today, Robert Stone. O'Grady. Johnson, he's going for the corner. Johnson is over. That wraps it up, I feel. Graham O'Grady has had a hand in it again. Here it is. For a moment I thought that O'Grady's pass was going to be intercepted, but he's just got it away from Hemsley, and this is the good work done by Johnson as he's caught and gets inside that tackle there of Greg Lane, and although caught from behind by Whittaker, he scores. I was going to say that Balmain's coach Frank Stanton realises that his opponents are going to finish this game having played the majority of it one man short, and so in order to send on 3 fresh replacements at one time, hoping that they can move that ball a lot and then just cause the St. George defence to tire more. But it's been St. George who have actually countered by scoring that try. And now we wonder whether or not Balmain have got it in them to win with only 11 minutes to go. If Steve Gearon kicks this, there won't be a happier man on the field if he can land it. And it's just away. Well, he gave it every chance. Gearon now has kicked 3 goals from 5 attempts. Well, there's still a 10-point leeway, which means that Balmain have got to score twice. Balmain attacking. Bridge twisting his way through. He's going to play it in front of the post. Greg Lane is on the ground. He's still injured. Balmain attacking. Marquito. Well, tackle's running out. Balmain getting very close. Whittaker throws it back to Brooks. That's Bevan. One-hander pass to Brooks. Hardwick, Kevin Hardwick. Bridge, long pass, cuts out Filipina. It's gone to Hemsley, out now. Lawson back, Filipina. 1 to go. Their fullback is out of the line. Hemsley. Lawson throws it. David Brooks's bomb is a shallow one. Next to the posts. What a courageous take by O'Grady. It was actually Paul Morris who got it. Close to the posts, the bomb was put up in a dangerous position. And Brooks just putting it up, coming down next to the line, and there's Morris to take it. Well, it looks like Ron Ryan is coming on. So injuries everywhere. Ron Ryan, you saw number 14 come on, the opposing halfback. Greg Lane is being carried off, and he's been replaced by Ron Ryan. St. George running it from their own try line as Chris Walsh, who's done his all today, given everything. Johnson. The ball kept in play on the far side. Simon Booth. So, Olsen Filipina. Hemsley. Still popping it up. Brooks has got it. Pass put down. Marquito throws it to Filipina. Now to Humphreys. Little kick put through for the corner. Steve Morris getting a good bounce. Johnson. A timeout. So Brian Johnson just taking it into the defence.
Yes, it didn't appear to be any injury, but let's just have a look at it again. I'd say that's probably it, that swinging arm in there that may have caught him across the side of the face.
Robert Stone. There's hardly a player on the field who's put in a better effort today than Robert Stone, but if there has been one better, it's probably been the St. George lock forward, Graham O'Grady. And he's had a superb match. Snake, as he's called. Well, he's certainly played well today. Haddock. Out to O'Grady, making another good bust up the middle. Inside to Note. O'Grady again. Out to Morris. Kicking for himself. Hit in the tackle and will get a penalty. He will get a penalty. It didn't look all that bad, but there's no doubt about the fact that Steve Morris was hit after he had kicked the ball.
Well, certainly was.
O'Grady.
There's no doubt about it. It was a silly action by Simon Booth, and there wasn't any malice in it. He just took his legs from under him. Watch Steve Morris. Dummies, little kick through. There's Booth. Very, very late tackle, but shouldn't have caused him too much injury.
Gearin wide out, and it's just through. Well, that's it now. And yet they've lost to some of the more lowly placed clubs. Had they not done so, they could well be sitting up near the top of the table. Steve Morris. Just having a look at the scoring details in this match, there's no doubt about the fact that St. George have deserved to win it, even though Balmain have been very, very hard to get away from. But St. George have scored 3 tries to none. Graham O'Grady, Steve Morris and Brian Johnson, the centre, have been the try scorers, and Gearin 4 goals from 6 attempts. And for Balmain, their only points, David Brooks, who's done nothing wrong. He's landed every opportunity he's had with 4 penalty goals. But 3 tries to none, I think, tells the story. And there it is, full-time siren. And St. George, who led by 8 points to 6 at half-time, have run out winners by 20 points to 8.